Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm doing this update just kind of off the cuff. And when I say update, I really mean it. We have some news. We have James Bond news. Producer Barbara Broccoli had an interview just recently. We have some articles that have just been published. And I wanted to cover a couple of these articles because it gives us some insight as to where they are in the scheme of the James Bond next movies coming out. Also, in the new show, I had a video previewing the new show, James Bond, the Race to a Million. But some of the news is not that good, and some of the news is a little enlightening. Actually, it's all enlightening. So let's just delve into it here. Okay. It's kind of come out that James Bond, and I'm reading from an article from Deadline. James Bond's many fans will have a long wait for the next 007, it seems. Boo, boo, bad news. A long wait. Producer Barbara Broccoli has revealed that executives haven't even begun to map out the next chapter of the long running franchise, which saw Daniel Craig bow out in No Time to Die 2 years ago. So, yeah, it's been 2 years. In an interview with the Guardian newspaper, she said the team was aware that the character's next incarnation will have to reflect how the world has changed in the 20 years since Craig took on the role. So here's some of the scary stuff here. She said not only just the bad news of the wait, but she said, I think these movies reflect the time they are in, and there's a big, big road ahead, reinventing it for the next chapter, and we haven't begun with that. Reinventing it for the next chapter, trying to reflect the times we're in. I bow my head. I don't know. That's a scary statement because we've already seen how that's working out for Disney. We see how it's working out for Marvel. Oh boy, this could be bad. Now, she does say that she kind of looks back in the past. She says, I go back and I look at GoldenEye when everyone was saying the Cold War is over, the wall is over, Bond is dead, no need for Bond. World's at peace, we don't have any villains. And she says, boy, was that wrong. So, yeah, there's always villainry, villains out there. So here's a little bit more news. The Bond franchise was sold to Amazon as part of the MGM catalog in 2021. But Broccoli emphasized any future outings for Bond, oops, sorry, I keep hitting the mic, would remain on the big screen. So that's good news. She has a philosophy right here, and when you hear what she says here, it makes me think a lot of what Tom Cruise says when he's talking about his movies, Maverick, and the Mission Impossible movies. So Broccoli says, we make the Bond movies for the big theatrical screen, and everything about the Bond movies is for audiences to see around the world in that format. So we've not wanted to do television. So that's good. That's good. Bond movies, big format. And it kind of sounds a lot like what Tom Cruise was saying about Mission Impossible and Maverick. He's just like, no, no, no. These are made for the big screen. They're made to be sitting there in the theater, taking it in that format, as big a format as you can. I agree. That's how Bond movies should be. They're big, they're bad, they're just awesome to see in a big format. So I would love to see some re-releases. In fact, I mean, tomorrow night I'm actually going to go see a re-release of Back to the Future in the theater at Regal Cinemas. So, and my brother, he actually just went on Sunday night, and he said it. I mean, he said it was almost teary-eyed. It almost brought tears to his eyes, and it was just amazing and so much fun to watch it on the big screen again. I wish they would do that with some Bond movies. Please, please, theaters. A lot of these new movies aren't really doing it. Bring back some Bond movies. Get some audiences in there. Okay. Now next, in the article it says Amazon will debut a Bond-themed show on the streamer next month. 007 Road to a Million. So here's what I like about this next part of here. It actually, actually, in the next article, it's going to tell us what's involved in the show a little insight on the show. So in this article here, it talks about 9 pairs of contestants enduring physical and psychological challenges in Bond-inspired locations, competing to win $1 million. The show will feature the famous Bond-themed tune and familiar imagery. Broccoli, now when in talking about the show coming up, Bond Road to a Million, Broccoli called the show a nice, fun thing to do in the meantime. So, a nice, fun thing to do in the meantime, but has not begun anything yet on mapping out the next chapter of Bond. So, a long wait, and the result of that wait, I'm not sure, especially if we're going with that phrase of reinventing the times we live in. I think, of course, gadgetry, technology, weaponry, possibly enemies that could have some updating. But does Bond need to be updated? I think they're going to try. And that's scary. Okay, now in another article, Britain's news channel, Brian Cox issues a brilliant defense of classic James Bond amid woke moans over outdated character. Brian Cox has defended classic installments of the Bond franchise amid today's ever-changing and unpredictable landscape of political correctness. Bond has faced calls to be more diverse in recent years, here in this article it says, with an intelligence expert earlier this month calling for a black or female or black and female Bond to take on the part from Daniel Craig. It also states the classic spy movies have also faced criticism for their earlier depictions of women as Bond's love interests, as well as Bond behaving in a supposed sexist and chauvinistic manner. While the wait for Bond 26 continues and the race to find Craig's replacement continues, Bond will be able to catch a fresh take on Ian Fleming's Spy thanks to Amazon Prime. Okay, so this article gives us some insight into 007 Road to a Million and what's going to be involved in the show, what the contestants have to do. So this is kind of cool. 9 pairs of contestants must face Bond-inspired challenges from across the globe, according to the show's synopsis. It adds, the controller, Brian Cox, he has hidden 10 questions around the world for each pair. Now, to reach these questions, the pairs face Bond-inspired challenges, which push their physical strength and their mental reserves to the limit. Now, each question is worth an increasing amount of money, and if answered correctly, they bank the cash and they continue to the next question. If they get it wrong, their journey's over. So, now we kind of know what's going to be involved. They have 10 questions per team around the world. They've got to go through, answer them correctly to keep going. They get it wrong, they're out. So, contestants in 007 Road to a Million are all in with a shout to claim the 7-figure prize pot if they complete all of Cox's controller's challenges successfully. Now that Cox has stepped into the Bond universe, he's weighed in on the aforementioned reception to classic Bond and whether or not bosses should change his makeup to bow down to the woke ways of 2023. Well, here's what Cox says. He says, Daniel Craig inhabited Bond brilliantly. as he reminisced about the franchise. But listen to this. He says, but lately I've been looking forward, or no, I've been looking back at the Bond films from the 60s onward, which has been wonderful. They have a style that was really enduring and mapped a particular period of my life, he says to Radio Times. So then he's asked about the political correctness of Bond, and he thinks that yes, there's some things that could be updated and things like that. Looking back at our history as people and things like that, but here's another thing that he says though that I completely agree with. He says we don't muck around, M-U-K or M-U-C-K. We don't muck around with Shakespeare. We shouldn't muck around with James Bond. So he explains. So, yeah, some very interesting news going on with the Bond franchise, and some really cool insight into what the contestants are going to be doing on 007 Road to a Million. And I'm pretty sure, that's like next month, towards the beginning of next month, like November 10th or something, I think. So we have that to look forward to. I wonder what the questions will be. I mean, I hope it's not, what was the name of the guy with metal teeth? That was an enemy of Bond. I mean, maybe it's going to be something that silly. I guess we'll see. We'll see how in depth the questions go. I mean, if they're too hard and nobody could answer them, what was the number that was on the encoder in For Your Eyes Only? It's just, that would be, yeah, of course, that's just crazy, too precise. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these updates. Bad news, interesting news, and some insights. But it looks like we're still in for a long wait. But good news is the Bond, it's made for the big screen, and they do not want to go to small screen, except for this reality show, which kind of came along. It's Bond themed, but it's not going to be like a Bond series. Anything they decide to do Bond will be on the big screen as it's meant to be. So, yeah, thanks for watching the video, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Please give me that thumbs up and subscribe. Channel is slowly growing. I appreciate it, and we're going to get there. Thanks. Bye.